You want them to come back. And you've probably spent hours, maybe even weeks, building this perfect story in your head about how it's all going to unfold. There will be this big, cinematic moment of clarity, a flash of lightning where they suddenly realize just how big of a mistake they made. They'll see your incredible worth, finally understand everything they lost, and come rushing back to you, a changed person, ready to give you the love you've always deserved. But I have to be the one to tell you that story. The one you're holding on to so tightly is almost never how it actually plays out. While some couples do get back together for the right reasons, there's a much more common reason they come back. And it has very little to do with your worth and everything to do with their needs. They aren't returning because they've had a profound breakthrough. They're often returning because they're lonely, they're bored, or because you represent a familiar comfort zone in a world that turned out to be colder and harder than they expected. Their return isn't a testament to your value. It's a symptom of their own emptiness. My name is your name. And after coaching thousands of people through the most gut-wrenching breakups, I've seen every pattern you can imagine. My goal here is to pull back the curtain on this fantasy, not to crush your hope, but to redirect it, to take the power you've handed over to them and give it right back to you. So, if you're ready to stop waiting and start reclaiming your life, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. Your journey back to yourself starts now. The anatomy of false hope. Before we get into the real reasons they come back, we have to talk about why we get so trapped waiting for them. This waiting period, this state of hoping, is one of the most painful and stagnant places to be. You're basically stuck in limbo. You're checking your phone constantly, getting that jolt of anxiety and hope every single time it buzzes. You reread old texts, searching for clues and hidden meanings you might have missed. You analyze their social media like a detective, looking for any sign of how they're feeling. Are they happy? Are they miserable? Is that new person there with a downgrade? You become an investigator on a case that's already been closed, desperate for evidence to support the verdict you've already decided on. They will return. We do this because the alternative feels unbearable. The idea that all the pain, the love, and the investment led to nothing. That's a tough pill to swallow. Our brains are wired to find meaning and closure. We crave a story that makes sense of our suffering. And the story of an ex returning with a huge apology does just that. It validates our love and our pain. It tells us, you were right all along. You were worth fighting for. This hope, while totally understandable, is a trap. It keeps your life on hold, tethered to someone else's potential choices. You stop making plans for your own future because you're saving a space for them to be in it. You might turn down dates or new opportunities because, in the back of your mind, you're not really available. It's a form of self-abandonment that's cleverly disguised as romantic devotion. Realizing that this hope is a psychological safety net is the first step to breaking free. You're not crazy for feeling this way. But you have to recognize this hope for the cage that it is. And only by seeing the cage can you find the key. That key is understanding the truth, the selfish, unromantic, and deeply human reasons they so often come back. This truth is what will set you free, the ego boost and the power play. Let's get into it. Their return is rarely a single, noble act. More often than not, it's a selfish cocktail, mixed with ingredients that serve them, not you. And the first, most powerful ingredient is the need for an ego boost. When someone leaves, they often operate under a hidden assumption They believe they can have you back if they want you. You become their emotional safety net. In their mind, you're a sure thing. But what happens when you start to heal? What happens when you go no contact and begin building a life that doesn't revolve around them anymore? They see you thriving. They see you laughing. They see you moving on. And suddenly, their safety net is gone. The control they thought they had over your emotions is slipping, and that makes them deeply uncomfortable. Their ego, which was propped up by the idea of your endless affection, starts to feel shaky. So, what do? They reach out. But this isn't about rekindling a genuine connection. It's a test. It's a low-effort probe to see if they still have power over you. It's the late-night, "Hey, you up?" text. It's the random "thinking of you" message. It's that fire emoji reply to your Instagram story. The goal isn't to start a meaningful conversation. The goal is to get a response. Your reply, any reply, is confirmation. It tells them, "Yep, I still have a hold on you. I still matter. My ego is safe." They want to feel worthy again, and you've always been the fastest way to get that feeling. They aren't trying to meet your needs. They're trying to satisfy their own craving for validation. This is especially true if they're feeling lonely or if their new life isn't the amazing adventure they thought it would be. When boredom hits or a new fling fizzles out, they don't look inward. They look outward, back to their most reliable source of a confidence boost, you. They can't stand the thought of you being happy and self-sufficient without them. Understanding this dynamic is your shield. When you see that "hey" text for what it is, not a sign of undying love, but a selfish attempt to soothe their own ego, you can choose not to play. By not responding, or by giving a polite but emotionally distant answer, you're not being cruel. You're simply refusing to be a pawn in their game. You're protecting your peace and telling them, silently but powerfully, that you are no longer in the business of validating them. If this is already hitting home, take a quick second to hit that like button. It really helps tell the YouTube algorithm that this is a message people need to hear, which helps our community grow. And if you feel like you're stuck in this cycle and need more direct guidance, I've put a link to my private coaching options in the description below. You don't have to go through this alone. The retreat to the familiar. The second powerful ingredient in their selfish cocktail is the deep, primal pull towards what's familiar. The world outside your relationship is uncertain. Dating is exhausting. Building new connections takes vulnerability and hard work. Facing life's challenges alone is scary. And where do we all go when we're stressed, scared, or failing? We retreat to what feels like home. For a long time, you were their home. You were their comfort zone. So when they come back, especially after a rebound fails or they hit a rough patch, they often aren't choosing you. They are choosing the path of least resistance. They're running away from the fear of being alone and back to the comfort of what they already know. Think about it. They already know your favorite foods and how to make you laugh. They know the dynamics of your family. Being with you is just easy. It doesn't require the effort of getting to know someone from scratch. You're like a prepackaged comfort meal in a world that's forcing them to learn how to cook. This dynamic often fuels what experts call relationship churning, that toxic on-again, off-again cycle. The reunion isn't based on growth or fixing what was broken. It's based on a temporary need for stability. The real problems that cause the breakup are swept under the rug because dealing with them is uncomfortable. The goal isn't to fix the broken foundation. It's to pitch a tent on the same cracked ground just to get out of the rain for a while. Pay close attention to the timing. Did they reach out right after losing a job? After getting dumped? During a major life crisis? If so, it's highly likely their outreach is just a way to soothe themselves. They don't miss you as a person. They miss the role you played, the cheerleader, the therapist, the stable force. Letting them back in under these circumstances, without addressing the real issues, is just signing up for the same pain all over again. You become their temporary emotional hospice. You nurse them back to health, and once they feel strong enough to face the world again, they'll leave again. Because the return was never about building a future with you. It was about escaping their uncomfortable present. The nostalgia fantasy. The final and most deceptive ingredient is the powerful drug of nostalgia. There's a psychological phenomenon known as the fading affect bias, which basically means that over time, our brains tend to forget the bad stuff and remember the good stuff more vividly. The negative memories fade, while the positive ones get polished to a perfect shine. For your ex, this means the daily realities of your relationship, the arguments, the little annoyances, the things that drove them nuts, start to disappear. What's left is a curated highlight reel. They remember that amazing vacation, the inside jokes, the feeling of holding you on a Sunday morning. They create a fantasy version of your past. So when they inevitably feel lonely or disappointed in their new life, where does their mind go for comfort? Straight to that nostalgia fantasy. They start to believe that the idealized version of you too was the reality. They convince themselves that the good times were all the time. This is exactly what you've been hoping for, right? That they'll finally realize your value. But here's the crucial part. They aren't realizing your true value. They are missing a simplified, romanticized, and conveniently edited version of you that helps them feel better right now. They miss the feeling of being in that highlight reel, not the reality of a day-to-day relationship with all its beautiful and messy parts. This is why they might send a text like, "I was just listening to our song," or a picture from a happy memory. They are trying to pull you into their fantasy with them. They're using their curated memories of you as a drug to numb their present-day pain, with little regard for how dredging it all up will affect you. They aren't asking for the real you to come back. They're asking for a ghost, a warm blanket woven from half-truths and forgotten arguments. And you are not a ghost. You are a real person who deserves to be loved in reality, not just in someone's nostalgic daydream. From waiting to winning, the pivot to power. Okay, so we've broken it down. You see the playbook. You see the selfish cocktail for what it is. A shot of ego, a chaser of comfort, and a lingering aftertaste of fantasy. You can see how their return is so often a reflection of their own issues, not your worth. So the big question is, what now? What do you do with this painful but powerful information? This knowledge is your freedom. It's the key that unlocks the cage you've been waiting in. Because once you understand their return is about them, you are finally free from the burden of needing it to be about you. You are no longer waiting for a knock on the door to tell you that you matter. Your validation was never in their hands to begin with. This is where you pivot to power. The single most powerful move you can make is to fully embrace the no contact rule. But you have to understand its true purpose. No contact is not a trick to manipulate them into coming back. It is an active strategy to get yourself back. By cutting off contact, you systematically dismantle their selfish game plan. You starve their ego of the validation it's looking for. You remove yourself as an option for their comfortable retreat. You force them to live in their present reality instead of escaping into a fantasy of the past. You're taking away all their tools. This is the moment your focus has to shift 100% from them to you. Instead of wondering what they're doing, ask yourself, what am I doing to build a life that I love? Instead of checking their social media, you work on yourself. You hit the gym. You reconnect with friends you've missed. You throw yourself into a hobby. You crush it at work. You start building a life so vibrant and so full of your own joy that the space they once took up becomes tiny. Your worth was never dependent on them coming back. Your job now is to believe that so deeply that their presence or absence becomes irrelevant to your happiness. That understanding is the ultimate power. It moves you from being a passive victim of your breakup to the active creator of your own life. In the end, the reasons they come back are very often selfish ones. It's a decision usually born from their own loneliness, their bruised ego, and their fear of the unknown. A reunion built on such a shaky, self-serving foundation isn't a second chance. It's often a setup for a second heartbreak. The same problems tend to resurface because the reason for their return was never to actually solve them. So please stop waiting. Stop hoping for that knock on the door you think will finally fix everything. That validation you're seeking is a mirage. The real healing, the real power, comes from you. Start building a life so beautiful and so fulfilling that even if they did come knocking, you might not even hear it. And if you did, you would have the strength and self-respect to know that you are not a backup plan. You are not a comfort zone. You are not an escape from someone else's loneliness. You are the destination, and you should never let anyone treat you like a rest stop on their journey to figuring themselves out. If you're ready to stop being a rest stop and start being the destination, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. We're all on this journey of self-reclamation together. And if you want to know what to do if they actually do reach out, watch this video on screen next. Thanks for being here.